All right. Hi, everybody. This is Reverend Andrea Graham, and I also have with me my husband, Reverend James Graham, and we are co-founders of Ease of Spirit Ministries of Hope. And I welcome you all to our weekly discussion group. We have been having a wonderful time with the Jesus Trilogy, and I'm telling you, I've been taking the lessons and really working them. And I hope that you guys have been doing the same. Because if you really, really concentrate on what we've been saying in these lessons, you're going to have some experiences, you're going to have some realizations. It's going to have an effect in your life. And so I just want to welcome everybody. Last week, Reverend Charles Callahan, he spoke to us about the ego's reality. And he is going to continue with how our thinking, how we think about others, how we think about ourselves, how those things actually affect our reality.
The microphone is
Oh, okay. I am muted?
No, you're not.
Okay, good. So, just continuing. So he's going to continue with his lesson. So I'm not going to belabor anything. I'm going to start out in prayer as usual. I'm going to ask my husband to do the daily inspiration. Is that okay?
No, you play.
Is the daily inspiration up here?
No.
Okay, well, I need you to grab it. Okay, I'll do the daily inspiration. And I have a few comments and a few things that I want you guys to think about as Reverend Charles is doing it. I'm not going to belabor anything or talk long, but it is some things that I want you to think about as we are going through this lesson, as well as the other discussion points that we have as we work through this book, because I really have had some aha moments and just listening to the teachings in this book is really making me examine when it is my ego speaking to me and how I react. So I want to open up the floor and see if anyone else has these experiences. And I want to just point some things out to you so that as you're on this journey, if you see them, you'll say, oh, that's what she was talking about. So without further ado, I'm just going to open up with prayer. And so let's just take a moment to relax. Let's just relax. Just feel yourself being supported in your chair. And take a deep breath in. And know that you're breathing in the very essence of God. God, the good, omnipotent one, that everywhere evenly presence of absolute good. And know that that good is pouring all in and through and all around you right now. And so take another deep breath in. And just release and relax. Allow your shoulders to drop. Allow the muscles in your face to relax. But most importantly, allow your heart to open. Just let your heart open. And let your mind open. And so, Heavenly Father, we give you the honor, we give you the praise, we give you the glory. We recognize you as the one power and presence, that everywhere evenly present power of absolute good, that stands with perfect integrity throughout all creation. We ask that you come in the midst of us. Let us be aware of your presence, Lord.
Stir in us. Let us be aware of your presence as you teach us what you would have us to know about you, about life, about reality. Father, I ask that you bestow your blessings upon Rev Charles Callahan. Bless the words that's going to proceed from his mouth. Bless the meditation of his heart. For we know that something is going to come forth that is going to be food for our souls. And in this awareness of you, Father, as our all in all, knowing that you're blessing each and every one of us, knowing that you're blessing our individual projects, knowing that you're blessing our concerns, whatever it is that we may have concerns about, you're blessing those areas. Oh, Father, knowing that you're enriching our hearts and our minds, our soul. We just released this prayer in Jesus' mighty name. And I say amen and amen. Hey, everybody.
Amen.
Hello, amen.
Hi.
Hey.
Doris.
Laura Lynn. Hey, Laura Lynn. You
Hi,
know,
how are you?
I just remembered that it was someone that I was supposed to send a link to, and I am going to have to turn over to Jim so that I could send that link to someone. But so Jim, I need you to come over here, honey, and do the daily inspiration, because it was one person that I forgot to send an invitation to.
Sure, no problem.
Okay? And so there he is.
There it is. Okay, wonderful. All righty. Okay, so I'm just going to do the daily inspiration for the day, Thursday, September 5th. The difference a day makes, it says. I thank God for this day and for this moment that we call the present and the now. Yesterday is past and tomorrow never arrives. But today is here and presents us with the perfect opportunity for transformation. Several years ago, a popular female vocalist thrilled many with her unforgettable rendition of a song called What a Difference a Day Makes. Wow.
Dinah Washington.
Was it Dinah Washington? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking Nancy Wilson. Okay. It was Dinah Washington. Okay. Though a romantic love song, the lines "What a Difference a Day made 24 little hours brought the sun and the flowers where there used to be rain. Yesterday was blue, dear. There's a rainbow before me. Skies above can't be stormy. What a difference a day made, and the difference is you. It can take on new meaning when understood spiritually. When we let God into our day, it lifts the clouds of our yesterdays and becomes the difference maker of our todays. Rainbows of joy and showers of love abound. Yes, God, the difference to my day is you. Wow, I don't know who wrote that. That's really kind of beautiful. God's love, Romans 5:5 states, God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. And it is true that a day can make a huge difference in your life. And a lot of times, you know, we go and we stay and we toss and turn at night, dreading some fearful thing to come in the morning, some fearful outcome. You know, it could be the fact that you've got an assessment coming with your job, or some work assignment. A lot of times it's work assignment, or someone that you're going to have a conference with of some kind, or someone that you're just going to run into the next day, and you know you're going to see that person that next day. And you know, you spend all this time in your mind running through the worst case scenarios. And then when you get there and you face the situation, it's almost never as bad as you think it's going to be. You know, you set yourself up for failure by allowing yourself to go down that rabbit hole of negativity. And the difference that the day makes is really when you rely on the spirit, like it says in the daily inspiration. It is so appropriate that when you can rely on spirit, you don't have to go through that in fear, and you don't have to have that anticipation and that anxiety. Anyone else have a thought about that particular daily inspiration? And I happen to love that song. I'm hearing that song right now. But anyone else with any thoughts about that? Nobody else?
James, sometimes when you think of what a difference a day made, you think about yesterday and you think about today and you said, oh, thank God, it's a better day. Thank God I have this day for a better day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, the thing is, you only have right now. Where you are right now, this moment in time, is all that you really have. No matter how much planning you're trying to do and how much you're thinking about what happened the day before. And
Only now.
that's right. Thank you, Beverly. That's exactly right. Only now. Because tomorrow is not promised. Well, with that, if any other comments, any other thoughts about that? What a difference a day makes? You can sit down, Andrea.
I'm getting my book.
With that, I'm going to let Andrea, I think she has a little piece she wants to say before we turn it over to Reverend Charles. So go ahead, Andrea.
Okay, thank you. Hey, everyone. Okay, I did get that off. Reverend, it was your cousin Charlene. I missed her, so I sent her the link and I called as well, but she didn't pick up. So, okay, everybody. So I'm telling you, I don't know about you guys, but this whole concept of the ego and how your ego creates this false reality for you. I've been really working with it. And you're going to see in this chapter, we're going to be talking about how, I think Reverend Charles is going to cover this tonight. I'm not sure, but we'll be talking about how you see people affect your relationships. And I'm not just talking about your relationships with your friends, your family, your significant other. I'm talking about all your relationships. These ideas that you hold in your mind about people, about yourself. Man, it makes you question when you start to see something that you have labeled to be not desirable. Something that you really don't like is happening between you and another person. And it's me, oh Lord, that's standing in the need of prayer. And so you have to step back and ask yourself, is this an illusion that I've conquered up? What am I supposed to be learning from this experience? These are some of the questions, if you're really working with this journey that this book is taking us on, that you need to really, really, truly ask yourself. Now, one of the things that I said during the last discussion, because the writer keeps talking about these beliefs that's in our software. The ego is like a part of our software. This software that reruns the thoughts that you've been carrying ever since you were a child. And this writer even says from previous lifetimes. And so we want to talk about this concept of reincarnation. And we said last week, you know, Jim does not really believe in reincarnation, and I do. So it's not a matter of which is right or which is wrong. It's a personal thing. But this writer talks about you get these beliefs from past lifetimes. Maybe you experienced something and you're carrying it from a previous life. So let's open up the floor. This is a deep topic and I want to bridge it right now. Let's open up the floor and talk about that. Any thoughts about reincarnation?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my thought is that, and this is Laurelyn, all of
Yes.
those thoughts are not necessarily my thoughts from previous lives. Some of those thoughts are coming through my ancestors in me, my mother, my grandmother, her mother, and so forth. So I acknowledge that everything I think is not really my own, but comes from ancestors as well. And so I have to work to bless all of these thoughts, all of these emotions, and ask the Christ presence to spiritualize them for me and help me work through them.
I love what you said.
Absolutely.
Because
Okay,
actually,
I like to tap in on that.
sure.
Laura Lynn basically limited it to a personal approach. I like to believe that all the ideas that were ever needed and ever will be needed were already given to us by God, and that everything is in the universe. Ideas that are not used by you will be used. Experiences that others have and things they have built upon, if they perish, that point in their lives which they perished, that idea was still there at a higher level than it came in on the base level. It is up to someone, not necessarily you, but someone to accept that idea and to build upon that idea. That's basically the reason people say, oh, that will die with him. Well, that's not true. It won't die with him. Someone else is waiting to build upon the idea that someone else had. Ideas are like our spirits. They live forever.
Absolutely.
They don't dissipate when a family is eliminated from the face of the earth physically.
Absolutely.
So for reincarnation, you come back in a state of, I believe that we come back in a state of knowing that there are things that we needed to continue to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And if we truly, if our ideas, the idea that we have built upon is not taken by someone else, it's still available to us. In my mind, it rarely happens though, because if something needs to be done, it's going to be done by someone.
Yeah.
And I'm always thankful to those that have gone before me that put those ideas out there and those instructions out there to allow me to add to it.
Well, if I could just add, I want to make sure that, Laura Lynn, I really like what you said. And I want to welcome Reverend Charles, Alexis, Kimbrough. I want to welcome you. But I like what you said. Pardon me?
That's my niece from Florida.
Hey, niece. Hey, Dan's niece from Florida. Welcome to our discussion group. Hey, a young, pretty face. Hey.
Thank you. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
So I really liked what Laura Lynn said. She said that all of the thoughts that I have are not my own. Now, wherever we get these thoughts from, I'm not going to belabor it. That's an opinion. Some people think that they may have come from a previous life. I, for one, piggyback on what Reverend Callahan was talking about. When I pray for my children. I pray for my children's children. And I pray for my children's children's children whom I have not met. And then I top it off by saying, for my word will move forth through my seed throughout all the generations. So I am praying. I am going to be an ancestor, and I'm praying for those future generations. So I really appreciate what Laura.
May I make a comment?
Oh, you most certainly can.
Well, I just want to comment also with Reverend Laura Lynn. And if we think about it, if we really think about it, and you look at your DNA, you can find out where you come from all the way back to Africa. So it wouldn't seem to me to be impossible to believe that, yes, some of the ideas from our ancestors are still in our blood.
Amen. Amen. So with that, oh, go ahead, Miss Teddy Red.
Okay, I just wanted to say something. You had gave a class on our vibration, our energy, and our frequency. I think I put frequency in there.
I use frequency as well.
Okay, I didn't remember if you. I was saying I was putting it in this right here. I'm listening to Reverend Charles Callahan, and I understand what he's saying, and Laura Lynn, and us relying on the energy we get from having a higher, how can I say, a higher vibration in our prayers. And if we are blessing each idea that comes or we think about that has not manifested, I think with the energy and the vibration and moves it up to a higher power of our understanding, where we can catch the idea of what has went through our ancestors. Sometimes instead of doing this, what is that DNA that they give us on TV that we can look, find out who is who in our families. And I think that the response would be the anointing coming and letting us know we still got something to do with this idea maybe that has been brought to us through the Christ or through God's perfect ideas that he gives us.
Well, that's yeah, I agree with you, Teddy. I want to ask, is it anyone that has had any experiences, flashbacks, past life regressions with reincarnation? You want to share, Teddy?
I want to share.
Who wants to share?
Well, I used to think, where did I come from? And I always looked at the stars and the moon because I'm just saying, I had no idea how I got on the earth, except as I matured through, my environment of my mom and dad and got older. And I learned how I got here in the physical world, but it was something else that was always eating my spirit of, or trying to introduce my spirit to something. And I kind of ignored it at the time. And then I found out later on through prayer and meditation what I was supposed to do. And I'll say this part of it was I wanted to do something more in my spiritual growth, and that's when the idea came to me with the going to EFPL for the continual in teaching of just teaching.
Okay.
And I never had that idea before as far as what specifically I was going to do. And that gets back to the purpose of our lives. We really don't know, but we all have a specific purpose of what we're doing. And it comes to us through our ancestors, through the universe, through the vibrations we go with, through our prayer time, our meditation, and having faith and thinking and staying centered.
Okay. Is it anyone else that has had some experiences with reincarnation that want to share? Okay. I can tell you that I've had some experiences, flashes, pictures, seeing someone that you identify as being you, but it doesn't look like you. and I even went through past life regression. Now, without getting
Why?
without getting into my past life, I will just say this. One of the things that the writer says in this book when he talks about past lives is she says that you get these beliefs from past lives as well as in between lives. And there was a point in this experience that I had when I did the past life regression where I had gone through the transition. I saw myself in the bed. I knew that I was transitioning into the other side. And later, what had happened was I was sitting there looking over my life and determining, did I learn what I needed to learn? And is it some things that I would have to learn in previous lives? So when I hear what the writer is saying, when I hear what the writer is saying, I really did identify with the talk about reincarnation. Betty, could you speak? And then we're going to bring Reverend Callahan in.
Okay, two things. Number one is a question, but I haven't had any experiences of a reincarnation myself. However, I've been around babies who you look at them and their little souls and spirits and their actions. You can tell it's like this little child has been here before, so that's to the extent of that. But the question isn't it a choice whether or not you want to come back from a regression? I mean, trans-life regression.
Is it a choice whether or not you are born into a new lifetime?
Isn't it a choice of yours if you want to be reincarnated?
I would not be able to answer that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
No one knows whether it's a choice or not unless you can remember where you were and where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, but this is really probably a topic for another day, but you have no way of knowing. I don't know anyone that's come back and told me they made the choice to come back again. I know people who have said they have gone back and seen what they have done previously.
Right.
And none of those lives have they ever said, and I chose to come back to continue doing what I was doing or to do anything else. It's just like death. We understand that it physically occurs to us, but no one physically has ever come back to tell me what it was like. So,
Reverend, with that, I'm passing this baton to you right now. I just wanted us to have an honest conversation. Whether or not you believe in reincarnation, whether or not you've had experiences, regardless of what you believe, it's okay. Because one of the things is, the truth of the matter is, it's a chapter in this book that talks about surrendering to not knowing.
That's right.
We do not know everything. Okay, Reverend, you got it.
Okay, welcome everyone. For those of you that were not here last week, there was a homework assignment. Since you weren't here, I don't expect you did, but for those of you that were here last week, does anyone remember what the homework assignment was?
Yes, I do.
I don't want you to answer this.
Okay, I'm not gonna do it, but I know it.
Yeah, as long as you I didn't say you had to do it out loud. I said you had to do the homework though.
Okay.
Okay, so the homework was to ask yourself to think about what you believe about yourself. I thought it was a very deep subject. What is it that you really believe about yourself?
Yes.
Go ahead, Reverend May.
I did do my homework.
There's one.
I did too.
I did it. I
did too. Do you want to share? Or you just want to get into the lesson?
Who are you talking to, me or who?
Reverend May.
Okay. I gave a great deal of thought about it, and I realized that I've really, I believe, come a long, long way. but I still have a long way to go. And so I believe that with what I have found and embraced is helping to keep me centered in moving forward in a more spiritual way than I came through my experiences before I got this way. So that's why I'm not where I should be, but I'm hoping to get there, and actually hoping that if there is a thing like reincarnation, that I don't have to come back.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to ask everyone to turn off their mics unless they're speaking. And if you need to speak, if I can't see your hand because you don't have audio, Reverend Andrea can let us know that you'd like to speak. I'm listening to feedback that sounds like little tweaking noises. Andrea, you turned yourself off, so I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm going to manage whoever that might be. I would like for Lisa, she says here in her comment, I do this assignment often and answer this too. So I wondered if she had some insight she wanted to share.
Yeah, this is an assignment that I do all the time. It's not only about what I believe about myself. I want to know what I believe about God and how I feel about this world that I live in, how I feel about how God is associating with me in this world. It changes all the time, actually, because as we grow, we change our perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can answer this too. What do I believe about myself? I believe that just as much as I'm living here in this space called Earth, that it's not just an illusion, but it's a reality. It's kind of like a paradox, and it's here to grow me, and I've grown so much. So I am truly a spiritual being having a human experience, but I'm a human being having a spiritual experience as well, if that makes any sense.
I'd agree with that. I agree with that. Without your human...
Reverend Charles Callahan, I want to say something to Reverend Charles Stevens. Reverend Charles Stevens, if you want to speak, just raise your hand to me because it was a little background noise, so I muted you. But if you decide that you want to comment, I'm paying attention to you. So just all you got to do is raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you, and you'll be able to talk. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so we basically covered the whole chapter. We're finished.
Oh, stop it.
Okay, our first thing, the beliefs you hold about yourself, that's why the question was asked, are powerful shapers of your experience as well as powerful creators and destroyers of possibilities. And yet many people are not particularly aware of the effects that their self-images and beliefs have on their lives. Self-images and beliefs are about yourself. At the very least, they're incomplete, and therefore anything that's incomplete is a lie of what's real. And we know they're not real because what happens to things that aren't real? We know the answer to that. Anyone want to speak up?
Change.
It changes. It changes from moment to moment. Those things that are not real are destined to change. It says, your images and beliefs about yourselves are therefore not worthy of shaping your life. So in other words, those little negative things you think about yourself, or those wonderful things you think about yourself, if they are changeable, they are not worthy of you allowing them to take over your life and to shape your life. You must reach for something beyond that, more spiritual. We talked about the ego. Last week I talked about the ego, and I saw the ego in two phases of our total mind. I saw them in the subconscious, and I saw them in the conscious. I saw the God, what I call the God ego, coming from the superconscious. And those things that are not meant to benefit me singularly would come from my superconscious, because it would be for the good of any and everyone. It says the narrowing experiences is bound to happen. We all see ourselves limited and in a negative way from time to time. Our kick is to learn what part of that is a reality and what part of that is from just some way we're feeling that day. Because sometimes if we're tired, if we feel uncomfortable with something that has occurred going to or from work, if we feel uncomfortable about something someone said to us at work, we start to believe that that is us. And we are not what they say we are. We are a reflection of the mirror that is God, not that which is the human.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble with your self-images and beliefs, with following other people's beliefs, and this is what I was talking about when you go into your working environment, is that they can cause you to make choices that are not in keeping with your heart. We're talking about a heart. We're talking about the love. We're talking about the spiritual being that you are. Are you trying to say something, Andrea?
No, I was.
Actually,
Jim said he was. I was just trying to get the book.
Okay. Go ahead, James.
that's one of the biggest things that there is to me. The labels that people put on, especially on their children, because without thinking about it, you know how, and I know when I grew up, I mean, parents would say anything to you, you know, like the Fred Sanford, you big dummy, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, people actually said that to their children and repeated it over and over, you know, or whatever, you know, you ain't gonna never be, you ain't gonna be no good. All these things that were labeled on children, and then you wonder why they turn out like they do, you know, and that's not just the parents, you know, in society in general. When you label, like Andrea works with these kids in the prison system, and she said that the chaplain there referred to those kids as demons, a bunch of little demons. Well, and then they act like demons, and you've named them as demons. So what do you expect them to be? Because they're going to eventually adopt. They're gonna live up to what you named them to be.
Yeah.
So you know how you label people, and especially children, is really, really important.
Yes, especially when you're young.
Yeah, and even going into the next chapter when you talk about what you think about others, and he was mentioning the chaplain referring to the kids as demons. Well, when you are involved in conversations with other people and you have thoughts about other people, and you may not even say it, but the vibration of those thoughts can be felt.
That's right. That's right.
And so what happens is love cannot flow, and you have that closed heart.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's going to be further down in here also. It says people's self-image and beliefs often keep them from doing what they love and creating the life they really want from each other and from themselves. That's a reality. Because if you truly believe you can't do something, it doesn't matter how much time you put into it. If you have that negative thought about the thing you're doing, you won't be able to do it to the state in which you would really like to do it. It's just like playing an instrument. If you believe you can't become a good musician, know why you're playing the instrument. Live at the limitations that you're putting in your mind will keep you from being successful with that saxophone. Since I love the saxophone, we'll say saxophone. Okay.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling, and because you get to the point you won't practice. You'll pick it up and think you'll blow a note and it's bad. Well, of course it's bad. You haven't formed the good habits of your amateur, and you haven't done stuff like that. There's people find themselves living a conditioned life. You're conditioned to fail. If you condition yourself to fail, you have no choice but to fail. The only way you cannot fail if you condition yourself to fail is to have a change in your consciousness. You have to come to realization of who you are and whose you are, and say to myself, hey, this was just a little setback. By this failure, I've learned the things not to do. And therefore, I would change my routine or change what I'm doing. On page 115, I want to call your attention to the I would call it, well, they're basically key topics here. What ideas and beliefs about yourself and about life are behind the choices you've made? What do you imagine yourself to be now and in the future? And is that who you really wanted to be? If there's not who you want, if it's not who you want to be, what do you plan on doing about it? Have you sat down and started some steps? Write down something. This is who I am. This is who I feel that I am. How do I get around being that which I don't want to be? What are your steps to do that? You can actually create steps. Just like we talked about the 7 steps of creation, there's 7 steps of success. Okay, what would you choose if you didn't have those, they say those beliefs, I'll say those negative beliefs about yourself? What fears might prevent you from doing that? You got to know that if there's something in you that's causing you to have doubt, it's probably a fear that has come up from something. Just like James was saying, that some parents put down their children. They don't put them down necessarily because they love them. They may be putting them down because they have hurts. They may be putting them down because they had people that always put them down. It's not necessarily that they want to put you down, but they don't know how to bring you up. If you haven't been taught to love, including loving yourself, you have a hard time raising other people's states of consciousness and letting them know that they are loved and they can do anything that they put their mind to.
Amen.
Is it okay for you to go after what makes you happy? Is it okay for you to even be happy? I like that because that's a choice. If you truly see something, and I'll use my daughter, I'll use my child, Alexander Graham, as an example. You can have anything you want, but if you choose not to have that, that's on you. If I give you everything that you need materialistically, and I support you any way I can with love and respect, it's up to you to choose the path that you want to take. You can't take a college kid and continue to make them do the things you would do, because they have to be free to make their own decisions. So with them, as it is with us, we must choose the place we want in this life. Says, the only thing that stands in the way of happiness is your thought and your belief. If you think you're no one, you aren't. I'm not saying that you're not good or you're not lovable, but your negative ideas will have a tendency to cause interactions around you. If you are a negative person, more than likely you will attract negative people. Why? What's the one of the laws? Like attracts like. If you believe yourself to be loving and you are kind and you're helpful and you go out of your way to be the best person you can with other people, you are going to generate that spirit, and people of like mind will be attracted to you. This is a negative, but I'm going to say it anyway. When there are people that have addictions, and they decide to leave a city and go to another city so that they can get away from their element. Let's say they're in Cleveland and all of a sudden they go to LA. Guess what they find in LA if they don't change who they are in Cleveland?
Themselves.
That's right. And so where are they going to be? Back
They're
in
the first one to get there.
That's right. Those addictive people are going to be everywhere they are, just waiting to open their arms wide and to accept them into their addictive community. So we have to be careful what we think. You know, it says you may already be happy with the life you have created and the character you are pretending to be. I've always said it. Life is an act. And it is up to us to write the script for that act. If you decide you want to be a certain way, write the script. If the script doesn't feel natural, practice the script. I think anything that you practice long enough will be yours. When you're no longer allowing your self-image and your beliefs to define who you are and how it shapes your life, then something else much more real comes to the forefront and moves to shape your new life. So if you can get beyond the negative ideas that you have about yourself, if you can get beyond the opinions that others may have about you, if you can get beyond the hurt people that come into your life who seek to hurt others because they've been so hurt. What you saying, Andrea? I see you. Are you trying to say something? You muted yourself, so I can't hear you.
Yeah, I turned my mic off because I was speaking to Jim. I didn't want to
interrupt you. Okay. Well, see, I saw you doing like this, and I thought you were trying to talk. Okay, I got to quit looking at you all.
Something more real comes to the forefront.
Yeah.
He wants to ask, what does it mean that something more real comes to the forefront? When
you say more real to me, I believe it means more godlike, more spiritual, more of me from my superconscious, more of the Christ child that I was meant to be, more of the path and direction that God wanted me to go in.
Yes.
For me, that's more real. But to be more real, you have to be willing to pay attention. Because we talk all the time, but do we actually pay attention to the conversations that's coming to us beyond our inner minds where our egos run rampant? You really got to get quiet. You really got to pray. And you got to do this sincerely. You can't just pray because somebody told you you should. Prayer should not be an instrument used because someone else told you you should do it. Because as soon as those people leave their surroundings, you won't do it anymore. It has to come from within your heart.
Reverend, I want to unmute Reverend Charles Stevens for a minute.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure. I think he might be actually trying to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
So hold up. Here he is.
No,
Reverend Charles.
I was eating, Andrea.
Okay.
See?
I just don't want to miss you. Okay, you're good right now. I don't hear any sound, so you can speak at will. Go ahead, Reverend
Charles. James, did that kind of give you my view of what I meant by that?
Yes. That's exactly,
okay.
That is exactly what I was wondering when you said that, because that which is real is that which is of God.
That's right.
When when you say something more real, I emphasize that fact because we have a couple people in who are not necessarily UFBL based. So when we talk about reality, we got a pretty good number of people in here tonight, and I guess probably 3 or 4, maybe more, are not necessarily versed in UFBL. Mm-hmm. They may have been acquainted, but the idea of what is real being that which is of God, because it's that which doesn't change.
That's right.
As opposed to that which is not real. So, when you say something more real, I was wondering if you were speaking from that perspective.
I'm always trying to speak from that perspective.
Okay, good.
Even when I'm clowning around,
yes, you are.
I'm trying to speak from the spiritual God perspective. Now, here's the question that a lot of people will ask themselves. What might this self, your true self, create? And I love the answer. You don't know until you do. Because if you are not in that state of understanding where you are in the real, it's an aha moment. It's just anything you do, and just all of a sudden you go, aha. And when you say aha, that means you finally know, you finally do, okay? It says, as part of the whole, you move according to the will of the whole. The will of the Father according to thy will. This is a two-part thing for me because it says the will of the whole. Now, who has an opinion of what the will of the whole is?
Okay, I do. And I do. And I really want to talk about this whole concept of oneness. See, when we talk about the will of the whole, collectively, we all make.
Hold on 1 second, Andre. We're working on page 117.
Okay. So
at the bottom of the page.
All right. Somebody asked that. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you're talking about the whole, you're talking about on that spiritual level. When we let go of all of our beliefs, when we let go of all of our judgments, when we let go of our insecurities, what is left is the truth of our being. And there is no boundaries between each one of us, because in reality, we're all spirit, and there is no boundaries in spirit. So when you're talking about the whole, we're one with God. You're still talking about God.
That's right. Okay. Now, let me take you on the other side of the whole. The whole can also be, let me see if I get this term right in the UFBL, the consciousness of the masses. So which whole are you going to deal with? In this case, we are talking about the whole. We're talking about the whole of God. We're talking about the Spirit Christ within each and every one of us. But there also is the consciousness of the masses. So this whole for me means that you must make a choice. You must decide if you are going to be part of the collective or if you're going to be part of a collective. And so for me, I just had to throw that in there, even though that was, I had to give you the alternative route on that one. A higher level of creation is possible once you know who you really are and you have learned to create your life from thine will instead of the will of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So at a certain point in your evolution as a spiritual being, you will realize that you are meant to create as the being that you are, not just as the ego that you have. And I love that statement. That's over on page 118.
Yes. The roles that we play.
It says, once your illusion there, easy for me to say, once the illusion of your reality has thinned and dissipated sufficiently, usually as a result of your inner inquiring and your emotional healing and meditation and other spiritual practices, your true being begins to be the experience that you are having in your life instead of the collective of the human state of being. Spiritual awakening is marked by this experience of your knowing yourself as a spiritual being rather than a character that you appear to be. That's heavy. What does it mean?
Anybody want to tackle that? Your characters that you play?
Mm-hmm.
Some of my characters I love. I don't want to let them go.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
They're heroes, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Without some of the characters that you have created in your play of life,
yes,
you cannot survive. There are other characters in your play of life that you should be more than willing to eliminate.
Yes.
And you do that by realizing who you are and where you are and what you're supposed to be about. If we're truly meant to serve, the first thing we serve is the will of God.
Yes.
After understanding the will of God, we are here to serve other men. We're here to serve man.
Each other.
That's right. So we have to remember that.
So has anyone given up a character called Victim?
We hope so. You know,
Character
sometimes.
called Jealous?
To make a statement.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
ma'am. Go ahead, Miss Lisa.
Okay, I want to go back just a tad bit, but it still is going to be kind of all encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about some of the ways that we believe and think of ourselves and the thoughts and our beliefs that we're holding,
Mm-hmm.
and as we're moving forward and we're talking about these characters, and because that's still part of self examination is looking at the characters and the roles that we're playing and deciding which ones we want, which ones we don't want anymore. We have to always do this kind of inventory to see exactly where we are and what we're keeping and what's not serving us anymore. But I mean, in the process of creating, especially from the authentic self, you know, especially if you're going to start something new, you know, in the process of creating that you're going to go through this self-evaluation and you're going to discover some things that's inside of you. And when we're I'm just talking to us here because I think everybody here is at a space or pretty much are where you can say, okay, when we're doing this thing called playing the game of life, isn't all this a part of it, and isn't it something that we should plan for as we're creating?
Absolutely. On my notes, I wrote down what for the human beings, what should be the first process of creation when you want to create something good in your life. The first thing you must do, you must have an understanding of what there is that you need to get rid of.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you need to work. And I mean, if there's 2 things, get rid of it. It's just 10 things, get rid of it. It's like paying bills for me. Okay?
Right.
I like to see success when I'm paying bills. Some people say, I must tackle those big bills first. Well, with them big bills, yeah, somebody say it true, but I disagree. So when you tackle those big bills first, you don't see growth. You don't see elimination as quickly.
Right.
I like to take my big bills. I don't want the interest gathering, so I will give it extra money. But on those little bills, I donate a lot of money to. I find the bill that I owe the lease on, and I get rid of that sucker.
Right.
Then I move up to the next.
That's actually a wealth technique.
Yeah.
I like it. It works.
You know, if you want to eliminate your debt, you
That's
start
right.
by adding more to the lowest bill,
Get
and
it gone.
you keep adding more and more until they're all gone.
That's
But
right.
you get that momentum, you see that success.
You get and you feel good about yourself. You go,
Okay.
oh, another one's gone. But
So in the process of clearing out debt, and we're talking about, and I just wanted to bring out that this is something that we should look at as fun and exciting, that we're going to get the opportunity to see these characters and these roles that we've been playing, and some of it isn't going to look all that good, but it's not something for us to just beat ourselves up about, but just to be able to say, oh, I got you.
That's
yeah,
right.
I see you creep up. Yeah, let's deal with that right now. You know what I mean?
And that's what cleansing's all about. You get rid of those things you know you can get rid of. If you have a serious flaw, it may take you a little bit longer. But that, I'll just say, use work for instance. If you naturally go to work and you are grumpy because you don't want to be there, you need to say to yourself, this job is extremely beneficial to me. This job pays my bills. It helps my family grow. You know, it helps my children go to college. It helps us eat. You know, you cannot continue to go to a job that you truly hate. Some of you probably have heard that book, How to Love the Job I Hate. Wait a minute, is that right? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the title, though. But anyway, everything is a cleansing process, and we take one thing at a time. And I find that if I try to tackle what I would have considered my largest flaws first, and I'm not immediately or pretty quickly successful, it causes issues. I'll put it to you like this. So that's why I work on the smallest to the greatest. And now let's talk about emotional things. Emotional wounding creates a darkly distorted view of yourself and of life. Understand something. No one except for you can emotionally affect you. If you truly know who you are, it doesn't matter what someone else says about you. You have to know who you really are. I'm on page 121. You have to believe that you were put there for a purpose and that you have a path that is spiritual and a magnificent path. Its emotional wounding creates the deepest distortion in one's personal illusory, why can't I say that? Illusional reality, and therefore the greatest suffering, okay? If you allow someone else to decide that you are unworthy of anything, it could be because the way you look, the way you sound, your education, or whatever, and you allow them to put a judgment upon who you are, you will suffer, absolutely suffer. It says emotional wounding takes the form of beliefs about yourself. What is happening is you are allowing their beliefs to become your belief. You cannot be successful if you allow other people to run your life. Emotions, they wound you, and it creates a very dark, distorted view of the real of you.
Ooh, yes.
It doesn't say that, I said it. I kind of changed the words a little bit.
Yes.
So,
we see through that glass darkly. We see
that's right.
dimly. We don't see the truth. Yes.
And we talk about our children. So we say, when you are young, you have no identity. That's often true, even in marriages. When there is a dominant person in the marriage and you take on their vision of you, you are destined to be destroyed. Anybody want to bite that statement?
Well, I have experienced that. If you really want to know the truth.
But not all the truth, Teddy. Not all the truth.
No. I got to that a part of the awakening that's in the book.
Absolutely.
And that awakening, that light, that love, that truth that comes to bear us out of this hurt, pain, anger, fear, low self-esteem, if we would continue on the journey of the realization of who we are and who God is and whose we are.
That's right. One of the worst things that can happen to you is for you not to understand who you are when you go into a relationship with someone, because you will take on what their vision of you is.
Yes.
Well, I'll say this. I didn't know who I was when I met Mr. Red, okay?
Well, you're still working on that from what you told me, Teddy. So, you know what? Why don't you, and I'm going to be serious here for a minute. Why don't you decide, what was your maiden name?
Williams.
So why don't you think, not necessarily right to change anything, but why don't you think, I'm wonderful Williams, and I am everything before I ever met Mr. Right Red. If that was a topic or a title, the title Red, that caused you to feel less than loving about yourself, then you need to drop that title. You need to call it somebody else.
I understand what you're saying, but I was just sharing with you. I
know.
dropped all of that.
But there's also some truth. But there's also some truth in everything that you shared, Teddy. So I believe that you believe that things started to happen to you. But this is not a counseling session, so I'm going to move on.
But before you move on, Yvetia actually has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Yvetia.
Oh, I thought I put it back down, but I thought about it because the experience, I had my art studio set up where at first it was like a little library for me, and I had like a lot of my degrees and certificates and a lot of my accomplishments placed in the on the walls in my one little area, in my one room. And one of my friends came over years ago, and she said to me, oh, don't nobody want to know about that. Don't nobody care about all that. Everybody ain't where you were at, so everybody don't want to hear that. And for some reason, I allowed those words to sink in. And for a very long time, I downplayed my credentials and who I am and things of that nature. And then one day, one of my other friends who's wiser came over, and she was just walking around and looking into my house and stuff like that. And so she said to me, anytime she walked in my room and she looked at everything that was on the walls and stuff like that, and she said, anytime you feeling down or anything like that, you should really walk in this room and take a look at all the accomplishments that you've accomplished. And until that moment, I had allowed that previous friend for the words that she said to absorb in my mind and stay stuck there for so many years. And as soon as I had that aha moment of what my elderly friend told me, I went back to that previous friend and I evaluated the whole situation. And as I was viewing myself completely different, I looked at her and I says, well, you know what, that statement that you made to me that I allowed myself to receive, it consumed so many years of my life. Now look at where I'm at today. I can honestly say I'm very successful. I'm brilliant in everything that I do. And I mean, everything I do. Okay. And then I looked at her and I realized that her ignorance of where she's at, and still from that day to this day instance in the same place that she was before, then I seen why. And so that was a growing moment for me. So that I just wanted to share.
Yeah. That was a beautiful testimony.
Yeah. But that's also the crab mentality of your friend.
Yes, absolutely. I learned that later.
They weren't achieving, so they didn't want you to achieve. And I can tell you that I am also guilty of that. I have nothing on my walls. I am the first technical support specialist I have ever met. I've always been the only Black in tech support everywhere I've ever been. And when you work, I'm trying not to be racist here, when you work in a white world and you have a lot of people that are not of African persuasion, and they see you are the one they have to go to for the answers, the first thing they do when they walk in your office, they can hear your voice, but they don't quite get it over the phone. But when they walk in your office, they're like, you know, and I'm like, may I help you? Well, I was looking for Charles Callahan. I said, well, I think he went to the bathroom, but if you come back in about 15 minutes, he'll be back in here. And I have a director that used to say, why do you do that to them? Why do you send those people out? I said, because they come in stupid. So if you come in my office stupid, and I got that kind of ego. So if you come into my, let it go, Charles, let it go. If you come into my office and you make a statement to me, quit that laughing, man. You quit that laughing, man.
You got it, didn't you?
Yeah.
You got one for Charles, didn't you?
Yeah, they got some Charles. I said, you come in my office stupid, I'm gonna send you out of there. So when you come back and ask me, and I would do it to them every time, they would come back, oh, you're Charles, why'd you do that? That's because you act like you didn't want to come in here. They said, well, can I ask you this? I said, you got $5? And I do it every time. I just want to prove the point to them that their perception is they were going to meet this nice white Irish guy. And it's almost like they didn't want the answers from me. So often I say, then leave without. That was my attitude. Very cocky, very egotistical. I'm out of that now, Anyway, let's get to some real things here. The problem is once your beliefs are formed, they aren't easy to reshape. That's why you don't take on other people's mess. Because if you allow them to reshape, it takes you 50 times longer to get away from that reshaping than if you had just shaped it yourself. Because if you had done it yourself from your spiritual I am, it would have been perfect. or darn near perfect within the human expectation. I'm skipping a few things, obviously. Okay. Okay, now let's take a common belief that holds people back. I'm not lovable.
Yeah.
So if you truly believe that you are not lovable, what type of people are you going to have in your life?
People that will confirm that for you.
I do counseling from time to time, and this has to do with this lesson. And it's a lesson that we all know because we've been in New Thought forever. Well, not forever, since 94 for me. When a young man or a young lady will talk about how their mate dishonors them and mistreats them, so they get rid of them. I finally got over that fool. Yeah, well, what's going on now? I don't know, man. I got a new girlfriend. But you know, man, she's not much better than the old one. And I said, what do you mean she's not better? Well, she says some of the same stuff to me. So I asked them, I said, well, is it true? What do you mean, is it true? Is that who you are? No, that's not me. Do you believe it? So if you do not believe who you are, and you don't love yourself, and you set out such a low bar that anyone can jump over, and you will take anyone into your life. And because you don't believe in yourself, you're going to get a lot of people that don't believe in you. And you will believe, they will believe, and you will come to believe that you are not worthy of them. If you are not, so the first thing you must do is be worthy of yourself. Everybody out there worthy of themselves? When you are worthy, did someone, oh, okay. If you are not, don't believe that you are worthy, this is bad. Don't expect others to think you are.
Because it's not going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. They're going to have same image of you that you had in your little mind. And they're going to mistreat you just like you had been mistreating yourself.
And so when you talk about women that have gone through abuse.
That's right. I tried to stay away from that. But you're right.
You know, they will draw the same man, or even, it doesn't even have to be a woman that's been through abuse. A woman that has had men that have dishonored her by cheating or whatever. They can be in a crowded room full of people, and that person could be way on the other side of the room, and like magnets, they're going to be drawn to each other.
Right.
Not only drawn to you, Andrea, they will run over to you to see how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this to be true.
And that gets back to what Teddy was talking about with the vibrations and the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
You're
now,
on that same frequency.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that we're talking about here in the book is if you do not love yourself, there is an alternative way to learn to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, at least you should have some compassion for yourself.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you can learn to have some compassion for yourself in all situations, the love will come. It is a first step. You start to understand who you are a little bit. Mm-hmm. You start to be able to see with your mind's eye the situations you have been getting yourself into. Then you start to understand why you got into that situation. Then you determine that you're not going to get in that situation again. Then you ask yourself, why? Because I love myself. I am too good to allow others to have those opinions of me and for me to reinforce their opinions by taking on their understanding of me. So through compassion comes love for yourself. Mm-hmm. It says compassion is the key Once you know that it is the key, then feeling loving towards yourself is just a matter of using that key of compassion. But that doesn't take away the willingness to see the truth about yourself. So you still need to learn to love yourself from that key, that willingness key.
And if I can add about the compassion,
Go ahead.
once it's like what Jesus said, love thy neighbor as thyself. So once you start to have that compassion for yourself, now you will have that compassion for other people.
That's
because
right.
there are no boundaries, because we are one. See, you are not your brother's keeper. You really are your brother. It's unity and their sameness. So when you start to go on that journey of accepting yourself, you begin to accept others.
That's right. So we go on to talk about the negative image that you have had of yourself. Well, they don't say negative image. I did. They basically say don't go on, continue to live up to an image that others have of you. I say don't go on to live up to that negative image that they have of you. That will make you wrong, and the ego doesn't like to be wrong. So when you're thinking harshly of yourself, you're really looking at yourself through a human ego. And the bad thing about it is 99% of us don't realize the negative ego that we have. We don't realize that the ego we have, I call it a negative ego because it's coming from humanity. But if you allow that ego to take control, are you asking a question? What's Andrea doing? Oh, she's being quiet. Beverly, did you have something you wanted to say?
Can you hear me?
No, I just saw you. Your box lit up, so I thought you were saying something.
Are you trying to say something, Mother?
No.
But you can. We'll let you.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at one more belief you have about yourself. You must understand that, and we've already talked about this, we'll say it again though, any image you have of yourself is self-fulfilling. It is, if it's one of love, that will be self-fulfilling. If it's one of dislike and hate of yourself, that will be self-fulfilling. If you feel negative about yourself, that too will be self-fulfilling. More importantly, the belief that you are a failure undercuts your motivation and saps your energy. If you believe you are a failure, you can never be successful because you imprint within yourself the inability to go beyond where you need to go to make yourself successful. When you think of yourself as a failure, you are taking life very personally. Failure doesn't exist in reality any more than success does. I'm a failure is the ego taking life personally. The solution to a belief such as I am a failure is not necessarily to affirm the opposite. Affirmations are often not enough to transform deeply embedded unconscious beliefs. So what we're talking about is you're not just a surface failure. If you have something in your unconscious, you have to really root it out because it's gotten there over time. No one can just walk up to you when you're successful and tell you you're a failure and you're going to suddenly become a failure. You get that inbred in you from your surroundings and your negativity about yourself over a lifetime.
So, Reverend, can I lean into that a little?
Go ahead.
I just want to lean into that because it hit me. You're taking life personally. Now, when you're in the midst of a drama, we have these dramas. How do you stop yourself from taking that personally?
See, it's easy for me. And because I only really know about my life, I'll go back to work. when we have shutdowns and something happens and our systems go down and there are thousands and thousands of people trying to call the help desk to get to me, and they come in and my director walks in and he's, Charles, what's going on with the system? What did you do? Now this is funny because people of no knowledge about computers will often speak in language that they shouldn't even go near. Okay, and people ask me, why don't you get mad when he does something like that? Man, it really made me mad. He was accusing the whole team as being a failure. I said, first of all, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Second of all, I'm not taking it personal. Had he tried to make it really sound as if I was the cause of the problem, it would have become personal, but he wouldn't have been with the company anymore because I have my ways. So you can attack something that you saw as not getting done in a manner in which you want, but you can never attack a person's character. People will accept you. I will never let something become personal unless they are attacking the real of me. What they say about the results of something, some work I do, it means nothing. We want to be successful, but you can't allow it to be personal or you will be miserable. You will go home miserable. You will interject misery into your family's life. So,
Reverend, we're at 8:22, so we better try to wrap it up. And
there's no wrapping up. There's no wrapping up. There's only tomorrow.
And Ibedia has had her hand up. I don't know if she still wants to talk.
I'll just simply say two things. I'm gonna lean into that without falling over. But you know, and if I'm on track with this, then a lot of times, when things aren't or something goes wrong, sometimes what I tend to do is once I take a look at the whole picture, I always take a look at myself and the role that I played in the situation.
Yes.
And then from there,
always.
If I've had if I've taken responsibility on my part, and if there was nothing else I can do, then I did all I can do, and then let's go from there. But a lot of times I just take a look at myself, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Does anyone else want to tackle that? How do you stop yourself from taking it personally?
I had an experience today. I was picking up my grandson from school, and we parked. There's this long line to wait for the kids, and so I was playing on my phone, and all the cars left in front of me, and I was just kind of holding up traffic. And the lady behind me, she just screeched around me, like you could tell she was very upset with me. And so I was sitting there thinking, I really was like, now look at this nut. And that's where first place I went was, no, look, I can't wait till I get up here. I want to see who's in this car. And then I was like, Lisa, why are you going to get drawn into that? She's pissed off. Why are you going to be pissed? Let her go in. She want to be first, let her be. But I really wrestled with myself today because I really wanted to see what she looked like. I wanted to give her the evil eye. I wanted to, all of that. So, yeah. It was a real live conversation going on in my car with myself.
Yes, and I like that example that you gave, Lisa, because I would say the way that we stop ourselves from taking it personally is to take that breath and be aware. And that's what Lisa did. She took a moment and she became aware of herself and how it was making her feel. Remember, he talks about the examined life. That's how you stop yourself from taking it personally, by examining your reaction and what you're thinking. And he does tell us in the book, put it up to the test. Does it bring joy to you? Is it love? Is it peace? And if it's not real. It's an illusion.
And if it's illusion, it's not a God.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to it's only going to take about 2 more minutes to finish this up.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to talk about something you all have been talking about. Your internal climate is really important. It is like a signal or vibration you send out. Those who resonate with that vibration will be attracted to you. And those who don't resonate with that vibration won't be attracted to you. So, birds of a feather, right? Flock
Yes.
together,
Yes.
okay? This explains to some extent how people can have such divergent views of life. For example, if some people in general are mean, while others see people as nice, in the result, the person who sees people as mean will continue to attract people around them that are mean. People who see you in the light of God or in a state of niceness will attract people who are kind and generous and nice.
I had an experience. I guess I've been really working on myself, and I have had some tough points messing around with this study. I know, honey. I had a tough time messing around with this study, but I had an experience one day where I think Spirit wanted to send me a message, and about 3 or 4 people from my job told me they love me.
Did they mean it?
Huh? I'm talking about one lady said, you know, I just want to tell you, I really do love you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? She said, I don't like always when you're doing your job, but that's you doing your work. But I really do love you. And it was all that day. And I think that it was Spirit just pouring down on me saying, okay, take note, because I was having some tough times. And so, yeah. But you know, you're operating in love, you're gonna draw love. You know, and if you're working this stuff, you work in this program, you're listening to what this man's saying and you're releasing it and examining yourself and you're taking it real. You're not just being a philosopher, you're applying it. It's going to stir something in you.
True. It goes on to talk about if you're not allowing your thoughts and feelings to interfere with your responses to reality. So what does that mean? Not allowing your thoughts and feelings to interfere with reality. Is Reverend Laura Lynn still out there?
Let me see.
Yes.
I haven't heard her say a word today.
She did earlier.
She did? Okay. I want her to answer that question for me. Anyway, your beliefs are not all that is shaping reality. Your beliefs determine your internal reality and affects how you behave and therefore affect reality to some extent. But something much more mysterious is at the helm of life, and that is grace.
That's what that love I was getting, that was God's grace.
That was God's grace, is it? Now, to end.
So yeah, I'm still here. I'm just listening.
It's too late. You missed my question, Laura Lynn. Okay, so in reality, it says, you can maintain a positive inner climate that will help you drop into and remain in the wonderful flow of life that is from your higher state of consciousness. That's extra words out the room. That wasn't in the book. Then life will feel much easier and life's opportunities and support will be much more apparent. And so it is.
And so, oh, wonderful, Reverend Charles. Thank you.
Yes, well.
I got 20 more pages to go, but I'll get to those later.
Is it any, I know that we're at 8:29. Is there any comments that someone wants to make at this time? Any aha moments, something that you really want to say? I don't want to cut off and have someone not get out something that needs to be getting out.
Another great class.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So with that being said, Miss Dan, since you're already up there, could you pray us out?
Come on, Dan. Don't shake your head. Come on.
You know you're awake. Come on.
Oh, Father, Mother, God, blessed Holy Spirit, we just thank you, dear Father, for you are just so awesome in our lives. You are just so awesome in our affairs. You are just so awesome in this teaching, dear Father, to teach us how to become truly one with you and come to the reality of who we really are, who you created us to be. We just thank you, dear Father. We thank you for the teachers that you have sent to us. We thank you for those that are in this class that are here to learn and to be more and to let their light so shine for you. We will always give you the praise. And as we leave from here and into the night, we thank you for watching over us, having a peaceful rest. We thank you for the waking up in the morning to start all over again and to become the true us. We thank you, dear Father. In the mighty name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I thank
Amen.
each and every one of you. Reverend Charles, that was an excellent,
Yes, it
excellent
was.
class
Yeah.
tonight. The class
Thank
last
you.
week was excellent. I really appreciate that. And I bid everybody adieu. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening,
See you all
everybody.
next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Lisa said excellent.
You had people coming and going, but total was 17.
What?